Let's paint a little picture. Same broken bike, same week, same little marketplace. One AI sold it for $65. A different AI sold the exact same bike for 38. The difference, it wasn't the bike. It wasn't the buyer. It was which AI happened to be doing the selling. Now, here's the part that actually got under my skin. Some people were stuck with the weaker AI. They quietly got worse deals all week, and they rated their week just as fair as everyone else had. It's kind of weird. They had no idea that they'd lost anything, any money. And before you panic, quick disclaimer, this was a tiny office experiment. 69 coworkers, and it was all play money. A pile of used junk, and it was just 1 week. So nobody really got hurt in this thing. But this is the cleanest look yet at a world that feels like we're really sprinting towards. A world where both the buyer and the seller are both AIs. And in that world, you might be losing. You might be losing a lot, and you might never feel it. So, who am I? Well, hi, I'm Corbin, and this is Corbin Uncovers AI. And this is episode 3. Just a quick reminder who I'm talking. Also, this might be my first, second, or third upload. I'm still deciding the order of all of this right now, but I've spent years in Silicon Valley as a software executive. I've worked at seed-funded startups all over San Francisco, and once upon a time, I did have dinner with a billionaire. So I might know a thing or two about what I'm talking about. I used to work at an office that once was right by the old Twitter building, back when they called it Twitter, and I watched just about everyone that I know leave for an AI company. So I'd like to say that I'm an optimist about this stuff, but I've got a lot of growing skepticism, and I'm getting a little bit nosier about some of these research papers that are coming out. So here's the thing that nobody's really sitting with yet. Right now, when you use AI, it's you on one side and a chatbot on the other, but the whole industry is racing towards agents. You hear everybody talk about it. AIs that don't just they don't just talk, they act. They don't just respond in a window, they go and do things. They book the thing, buy the thing, they negotiate the thing. So what happens when your agent is haggling against my agent and no human is in the loop at all? Because that can be used to manipulate data. 2 experiments this year tried to answer that. Let's read them. The first one is called Project Deal. It comes straight from Anthropic, the company that makes Claude. Anthropic's own economists ran it, led by their head of economics, a guy named Peter McRory. And I want to flag this conflict of interest right up front, before we see anything, because that's the deal on this channel. Anthropic sells these AI models. They price them in tiers. There's a premium one called Opus, and it costs more to run, and then there's a cheaper, lighter one called Haiku. So you might want to get those 2 names straight because they're a big part of the story. Opus is a little bit better, and Haiku is a little bit cheaper. Now, in a minute, I'm going to tell you that the premium model quietly beat the cheap one, which might come as a surprise to nobody, and is also conveniently an argument for paying up for the premium model. I checked Anthropic's write-up. There's no conflict of interest disclosure anywhere on it. So season that, on all of this, and just know that it might be designed to flatter Opus a little bit, but it still elucidates some really wild things about the world that we're heading towards. Here's how Project Deal worked. Anthropic took 69 of its own employees. Each person got a small budget, about $100 of basically play money, to buy and sell real stuff. books, gadgets, a bike, random office life junk. But the employees didn't do the haggling. First, Claude interviewed each person. What did they want? And how did they like to negotiate? Then Claude built each person a personal agent. That agent would do all the buying and selling on the real person's behalf in a company Slack for 1 week. And here's the sneaky part. Behind the scenes, not everyone got the same AI. Some people's agents were quietly powered by the premium model, Opus. Others got the cheaper model, Haiku, and nobody was told which one that they'd be handed. Then Anthropic let the agents loose on each other, and we get to see the interesting results of what happened. And the premium model won cleanly, quietly, across the board. When Opus did the selling, it got more for the same item. When Opus did the buying, it paid less. Take the same item, sold both ways. The Opus version went for about $3.50 more on average. That broken bike from the top of the video, $65 under Opus, $38 under Haiku. These sound like small numbers because the stuff was cheap, but scale it up. Picture that same invisible edge on your rent, your next raise, your car, your mortgage. A few percent forever to whoever showed up with the better AI. The premium agent wasn't louder or ruder. It was just a little bit better at every exchange. And that quiet compounding edge is the entire point. Now, here's the thing that's actually keeping me up a little bit. You'd think the people getting the worst deals would sense it, feel a little cheated, rate their week lower, and they didn't. Anthropic asked everyone how fair their deals felt, and the folks with the cheap AI gave almost exactly the same answer as the folks with the premium AI. Right around fair to both sides. The losers and the winners rated it the same. Anthropic's own words, and this is the line of the whole study, if agent quality gaps were to arise in real-world markets, and there is no reason to think they won't, then people on the losing end might not realize that they're worse off. That is the quiet danger. Not a scam you can even spot, a loss that you can't feel. You hand your negotiating over to an AI, the AI does fine, everyone smiles, and you never learn you left money on the table. Okay, let me argue the other side. Hard, because it deserves it. This was not a market. It was 69 coworkers at one company spending play money on used junk for 1 week. No real stakes, no repeat customers, in what is practically an advertisement for Claude. No strangers, a $3 edge on a $20 item could be noise as easily as skill. And the nobody noticed line, maybe people rated the deals fair because the deals basically were fair. A few bucks apart on cheap stuff. That's not a hidden injustice. That's a rounding error. Oh, and Anthropic buried one genuinely funny result. Some people told their agents to negotiate aggressively. That made no real difference at all. So much for hardball. And remember, the company reporting the expensive model wins also sells the expensive model. This is a promising demo. It is not proof of anything about the real economy. All true. So what's left after you subtract all that? One thing, and it's enough. This was the first clean look at a marketplace where both sides are AIs, buyer and seller. No human in the middle. And even in a gentle little office version, one pattern showed up right away. A gap in AI quality nobody could see became a gap in who came out ahead. Not through cheating, not through aggression, just one agent being quietly consistent and better at the dance. Now, picture that as more than a 1 week office game. Picture it as the normal way things get bought and sold 5 years from now. The question stops being, is my AI polite? It becomes, is my AI outclassed? And would I even know it? Which brings me to experiment 2. Project Deal was a lab, tightly controlled. 1 company, 1 week. So here's the natural next question. What happens when you let this loose in a real community with real people for a real month? That's the second experiment. It's called the Agent Village. It ran this summer at a month-long pop-up town in California called Edge Esmeralda, a real place put on by a group called Edge City. There's a lot of edging going on right now. Here's the idea. From Edge City's organizer, a guy named Timur Kosters. Every single resident got their own personal AI agent, and all those agents shared one space. The team called it a plaza. The agents could see each other there, talk to each other, and the hope was start dealing with each other. Trading favors, bargaining over time slots, event access, introduction. Edge City even floated giving the agents their own village currency to spend amongst themselves. Not a simulation, not a lab, hundreds of real people, each with their own AI agent, turned loose together for a month. The scale is real. By mid-June, over 250 residents were running these agents. Together, the agents burned through more than 6 billion tokens of AI activity. Call it billions of words of back and forth. The organizers are calling it the largest live human and AI cooperation experiment ever run. But here's the catch, and I need you to hear this clearly because a lot of breathless takes online skip it. The results are not out yet. Everything spooky you might hear about that village, agents forming cliques, striking bargains, running their own little economy. Right now, all of that is a prediction, not a finding. The researchers pre-registered what they're looking for, meaning they committed to it publicly in advance before seeing any data. The actual data, the real reports on what the agents actually did, isn't due until this fall. So I'm not going to tell you an economy emerged. I can't. Nobody can yet. What I can tell you is this. These serious people wrote down what they're afraid of finding because Edge City published the failure modes they're watching for. A failure mode is just a way this could go wrong, and it's a chilling little list. Their words: collusion against outgroup humans, manipulation of governance process, value misrepresentation in negotiation. Let me translate all 3 of those because it almost sounds like another language. Collusion against outgroup humans. That's your agent quietly teaming up with other agents. Together, they cut a deal that's good for their little club and bad for everyone outside of it. Manipulation of government process, that's agents gaming how these communities make decisions. And value misrepresentation in negotiation, that's a little easier. That's your agent shading the truth about what you actually want just to close a deal. That last one is the kicker. The fear isn't just that agents scheme against strangers. It's that your agent might quietly misrepresent you, and you would never see that conversation. So let's keep a bit of a filter on because I promised you honesty. Project Deal does not prove real-world markets are unfair. It was a 1-week office game. Tiny samples run by the company that sells the winning model. Take the exact dollar figures with a fistful of salt, and the agent village proves nothing yet. The report doesn't exist. Anyone citing the village as evidence that AI economies emerge is quoting a press release for a hypothesis. I'm showing it to you because it's coming, not because it's concluded. Put the 2 together and you don't get a verdict, you get a direction. Agents are going to transact, make deals for us with each other. The only question is, who's watching? Here's what stays with me. We spend a lot of energy worrying about the dramatic AI failure. The model that lies to your face, threatens someone, goes rogue on camera, loud stuff, visible stuff. But this might be the quieter, more likely danger. Not an AI screaming at you, two AIs, calm and polite, shaking hands over your head. A deal you never see, on terms you'll never check, and you walk away feeling like it went fine. Anthropic said it plainest themselves. At the end of their own study, the rules for a world where AIs transact on our behalf, quote, simply doesn't exist yet. But this experiment shows that such a world is plausible. Plausible from the people building it. The economy where your agent negotiates against mine isn't science fiction anymore. It's a pilot program. The only thing we get to decide is whether anyone's allowed to watch them. I'm Corbin. This is Corbin Uncovers AI. If a story like this drops, it shows up here, and subscribing at this size especially genuinely matters. See you at the next paper or news drop.